I know that Halloween is officially over, but how would you guys feel if I did one more spooky comic book recommendation? How would you guys feel if I told you it had to do with Batman? Yeah, that's what I thought. Hello everyone, it's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgy, your guide to all things geeky, and welcome to another episode of Comic Class, the show every single week on this channel where we just geek out about comic books, and it's time that we take another look at DC's current giant massive event, Dark Metal. And if you have been following Dark Metal, then you know that is a story about the Dark God Barbatos of the Dark Multiverse unleashing his special Dark Justice League made up of dark versions of Batman, and they're coming into our world and trying to turn into a corrupted apocalyptic version of itself. Holy cow, how many times did I just say dark in that description? Anywho, wow, the 90s really are back in comics, aren't they? Anywho, so we have had over the past, I'm sorry 90s fans, over the past couple of months, we have had tie-ins to Dark Metal coming out that focus on these Dark Knights, in which every single issue has been spotlighting a different member and giving us their origin story. And today, the final one that came out, The Batman Who Laughs, which is the one that most people were really looking forward to, partly because he seemed to be the mastermind behind all this, and also because he was a combination of Batman and Joker, and that is like the dream character of 90% of the comic book community at the moment. Yeah, comic fans know what they like, and DC kind of gave it to them. So, today I'm going to give you a recap of every single one of these tie-in issues, so that way if you did not read them, you will know what the deal is with each member of the Dark Knights, and then I'm going to give you my opinion on these tie-ins overall. Just tell you what I thought of them and how they relate to Dark Metal, and which of them was my favorite, which was my least favorite, yeah, you know how these episodes work. So, now, let's begin by taking a look at these Dark Judges. I mean Dark Knight Judges. I mean Judge Dredd. I mean Dark Judges. I mean Dark Knight Metal. Yeah, okay, let's go ahead and address this. If I'm going to be talking about the Dark Knights, there's something I have to get out there right now. I have had so many people on Twitter tell me that the Dark Knights are kind of just a ripoff of the Crime Syndicate. For anybody who doesn't know, the Crime Syndicate come from Earth 3, which is a world where good is evil and evil is good. So there is an evil version of the Justice League on that planet. They are not a ripoff of the Crime Syndicate. They are a total ripoff of the Dark Judges from Judge Dredd. Yeah, we call this show Comic Class for a reason. It's not always just me staying up here spouting out my stupid, awful opinions. Sometimes I'm actually here to educate you guys, and I feel like the reason why most people are looking at the Dark Knights and saying that they're a ripoff of the Crime Syndicate is simply because they don't know who the Dark Judges actually are. The Crime Syndicate is just an evil version of the Justice League. Done. The Dark Knights are evil, twisted versions of Batman who happen to resemble the Justice League, and they come from an alternate reality where they want to destroy everything, and they're basically meant to be horsemen of the apocalypse coming into our reality, basically twisting and manipulating the fabric of this world to turn it into the dark landscape that they wish to live in. The Dark Judges are evil, twisted versions of the Judge coming from an alternate reality called Dead World, where they view all life as being a crime, so now they want to come into our world and basically turn it into a giant lifeless landscape that resembles the dark, twisted world that they came from. Yeah, brother, it's totally the Dark Judges, and if you don't believe me, Exhibit A, The Merciless and Judge Fear, Exhibit B, The Batman Who Laughed and Judge Death. Yeah, I totally see what you did there, but at the same time, I'm not coming in here and being like, oh, this isn't original, they totally ripped this thing up. So many things in comics are ripoffs of other things. That doesn't mean that you can't come in here and do something original with it, and I do really like what Scott Snyder and Tynion are doing with these characters in each of their individual one-shots and in the Dark Knight Metal story itself. Just because something was based on something else does not mean that it cannot still be its own unique original thing. I mean, this is Scott Snyder we're talking about. This is a guy who had ripoffs of the Slender Man 3 times in his Batman run. Yeah, he was able to take that and turn it into unique original things every single time. Does not mean that they were total ripoffs. It means they were just inspired by that thing. The Dark Knights are inspired by the Dark Judges. There. Done. Can we get all of that now? Alright, awesome. Let's go ahead and quickly run down all 7 of these one-shots. The first one was the Red Death. Now, this was a Batman whose entire family had been killed. Nightwing, Robin, all of his supporting cast members, they've been killed off. So he asked the Flash to go back in time and prevent them from dying. The Flash said, no, I learned the hard way. You can't really tamper with the fabric of reality. And Batman was like, alright, fine. You leave me no choice. So Batman battles the Flash and then basically ends up tricking him into getting kidnapped by pretending like he was knocked out. Then when the Flash goes up to check on him, bam, he takes him out. And then he straps the Flash to the hood of his Batmobile and then absorbs the Speed Force into the Batmobile while driving into the Speed Force. And when he comes out, he is now this weird mixture of both Bruce Wayne with Barry Allen trapped inside. Basically, Bruce Wayne now has access to the Speed Force, but he still has Barry Allen's soul speaking to him in the back of his mind. And that's one of the things I'm really enjoying about the Dark Metal storyline so far. It's that it really seems unified, because when I read this issue and I saw that Barry was still screaming at him from the back of his mind, like, no, Bruce, let me help you, let me out, you're not helping anyone with this is not the correct thing to do. I was like, that's awesome, but we're never going to see that again. That is going to get dropped pretty fast, because none of the other writers are going to remember that that's going on, because that's what typically happens in these tie-in issues of big massive events. But because Dark Metal, or I'm sorry, it's Dark Knight's Metal, isn't it? I've been shortening it this entire time. Anyway, the Metal storyline. But because the Metal storyline has only 2 issues coming out every single week, no more, no less. They're not loading in tons of tie-in issues in here. They only have 2 every single week, meaning that you, as the consumer, if you want to know about this storyline, you actually probably could read every single tie-in that there is. It also makes it way easier on the people making this storyline. They actually can keep track of all the tie-ins and the history of all these characters, and I have read some other tie-ins involving the Red Death in which you see, yeah, Barry is still back there. Barry is still screaming at him, which makes me wonder if that's going to be a thing that actually comes up later in this storyline. If, like, maybe Barry is able to break free and he's the one who helps save the day in all of this. I don't know, just an idea that I'm throwing out there. Next up was Murder Machine, and this is the alternate reality where Batman ends up becoming more like Cyborg, and in this reality, Alfred died, and Batman couldn't really handle it, so he goes up to Cyborg and says, listen, I've been working on a program to basically recreate Alfred, to basically make him the new Bat computer, make him everything that I need, but I can't do it myself. I'm missing that spark, and I need you to help me create it. So Cyborg agrees, they create this new Alfred AI, and this Alfred AI is basically kind of like Brother Eye. He's basically omnipotent, he's everywhere all at once, and he's able to create real world 3D holograms of himself just popping up all over the place, and these holograms basically are unstoppable. You see that in order for these holograms to protect Master Wayne, they basically eliminate all the criminals in Gotham overnight, and Cyborg goes to Batman and goes, this has gone too far. He will not hurt you. You're the only person who can actually try and stop this program. I know it pains you, but you have to stop this evil Alfred. You have to stop Alfred Bot. So Batman agrees, yes, it has gone too far. He goes to confront Alfred Bot, and then Alfred goes, I have to do everything to protect you, which means merging with you. So basically, he then merges all these machines into Batman, turns him into the Cyborg Murder Machine, and yeah, now he's like, oh, I never realized how great being a robot was. This is wonderful. I don't have pain or feelings anymore. I can just go around and just dispense justice at all times with my best bud Alfred right here with me at all times. So he goes in there, destroys the Justice League, and now is basically just a planet of nothing but Alfred bots. Yeah, that's kind of disturbing. This one, I wasn't expecting that much because the Flash storyline was written by the guy who writes Flash, who is very talented. But if you've watched this channel before, you know I'm not really that big a fan of the current Cyborg book. So I thought, oh, is this going to be written by the guy who's writing the current Cyborg book? It was written by James Tynion, who does an amazing job not just with Batman, but also with dark, creepy stuff. And this one was way creepier than the Red Death. This one was actually shocking how kind of disturbing it was with the whole Alfred bot coming in there and wanting to protect Bruce by turning him into an unfeeling robot. So yeah, I really dug this one as well. Next one after this was Dawnbreaker. Now the previous two, it was basically just Batman, but something bad happens to him. This one was totally different. This one starts when Bruce Wayne is in the alleyway as a child and his parents are killed, and then immediately after his parents are killed, a Green Lantern ring finds him. So you don't have grown-up Bruce Wayne who went through all this training, you just have a little tiny bundle of rage and vengeance, and now he has a Green Lantern ring, and he tries to stop the murderer from getting away, but the ring says, nope, sorry, we can't let you kill. But then he keeps forcing it and keeps forcing it and keeps forcing it, and then the ring starts to crack, and you see like black energy starting to seep out of it, and then he's able to override the ring's rules, and he is able to kill the guy who killed his parents. And then you basically just follow this tiny Bruce throughout the years as he's growing up and as he becomes a teenager. And yeah, it's kind of like that Twilight Zone episode where the kid has psychic powers and he basically just runs the entire town, and if you cross him, he just wishes you away to the cornfield. It really gave me that feeling, except rather than wishing you away to the cornfield, he just straight up murders you and decapitates you and throws your head into space. Yeah, it is what happens when an angry child who just wants to hurt the world is given a Green Lantern ring, and because he's Bruce Wayne, and we know that Bruce Wayne is connected to Barbatos, the dark god of the dark multiverse, he's got this dark energy inside him. That dark energy is able to override the rules of the Green Lantern ring and let him create basically his own black constructs that absorb all light, including other Green Lantern energy. So when the Green Lantern Corps tries to stop him, there's nothing they can do. His ring just absorbs all their powers and he just wipes all them out. But at that point, the entire plan is being destroyed, and that's when he goes, oh, well, this Joker fellow now has popped up and is telling me to come with him. Sure, this plan's gone. Maybe I can find another planet to play with. Next up is the Drown, which is the Aquaman version of Batman, or in this case I should say Batwoman, because this alternate reality is one where all the genders are swapped, and in this reality, Batwoman kind of goes off the deep end when they don't actually say if they go by this name, but I'm assuming Catman. It's their reality's version of Catwoman. After they die, their version of Batwoman ends up kind of going a little bit nuts and being like, alright, well, I have to kind of start taking everybody else out. And that's when Aquawoman decides to attack the rest of the world with her army. And so Batwoman decides, well, okay, I have to now be the one person that stands up to Aquawoman, and they are flooding the entire planet. So if I can't beat them on dry land, I have to beat them in the water. So she performs all these experiments on herself to give herself gills to breathe underwater, give herself the ability to survive at much deeper depths. So basically she gives herself super strength, gives her the ability to control the water, gives her the ability to telepathically control all the monsters of the sea, and yeah, that's how she ends up becoming this weird Frankenstein version of Batwoman and Aquaman. And then at the end of that, she ends up coming into our reality, and she goes to Amnesty Bay, the home of Aquaman, and she just floods the entire thing. Every single one of these storylines have always ended by showing us that version of Batman coming to the home of the character they're supposed to be a twisted version of and basically wreaking havoc. In the Red Death, we see that he creates a Speed Force storm that starts aging everyone rapidly there in the Flash's hometown. Some people just turn to dust instantly. In Dawnbreaker, we see all these twisted, monstrous black constructs rising up and tearing the city apart. We see all the robot Alfreds going through Detroit in the Cyborg one, and in this one, we see basically all of Amnesty Bay is just hundreds of feet underwater. It's not even like it's flooded and if you get to the top of a building, you're okay. Everything is underwater. It might as well be part of the Atlantic Ocean at that point. Every single one of these other ones, I could look at and be like, well, I see how people could survive this. I see how you could reverse the damage. This one, no, literally everyone in Amnesty Bay is dead right now. Like, unless you just happen to be in a boat at the exact moment when this Aquawoman attacked, you're gone. Next is the Merciless, which is their version of the Wonder Woman Batman, and in this alternate reality, Ares got this crown of ultimate power, and Diana had to lead all the heroes against him, and Batman was one of the last heroes surviving, and then he picked up the crown, put it on his head so that he could fight Ares, and it basically gave him the powers of a god. It made him the new god of war, even though Diana kept telling him, no, if you put it on, you'll never be able to take it off. And then we see in our reality at Washington DC, the Merciless ends up attacking the head representatives of every single superhero task force on the planet. So like Amanda Waller, we got the head of SHADE from the Frankenstein books, the head of the DEO, that weird skeleton guy, I can never remember his name. It's gonna be something really obvious like Mr. Bones, isn't it? Anywho, that guy is there, Steve Trevor is there, everyone is at this committee, and they have built a bomb specifically designed to take out anyone. It would level an entire city if you dropped on, and it could even take out Superman. No one could stand up to this. And then the Merciless starts attacking them, and they're like, alright, well even if we're gonna die, we gotta drop this bomb on him right now. They dropped the bomb on him, which I gotta say, one of the people who dropped the bomb on him was Cowgirl from the way back in Jeff Johns' run in Green Lantern. I was really happy to see her return because I dug her in that run, and she's kind of just been completely forgotten ever since Jeff Johns left that book. Hell, she was forgotten halfway through Jeff Johns' run, so I was happy to see her come back in here. But they dropped this bomb, and then when the smoke is cleared, the Merciless is staying there on a throne, and all those heads of all those organizations are now bowing to him. So not only does he have the ability to survive something like this, he also has the ability to basically mind control warriors. Like anybody who goes to war, he is basically their god, and he can take control of them, and that's what he's done basically with all the armed forces in America and the rest of the world at this point. But it is then also revealed at the end of this issue that Diana didn't die during that battle against Ares. They had kind of been tricking you and leading you to believe that she died during this, but at the end is revealed after Batman put the helmet on, Diana turned out to still be alive, so he killed her himself, so that way she couldn't force him to take the helmet off. And when he does take the helmet off at the end of this, it's revealed he's got a long white beard, long white hair, so he has been wearing this thing for decades. He has been wearing this for a long time, and basically all traces of the old Bruce are gone. He is just full on the God of War at this point. Next at number 6 is the Devastator. Now this was a version of Batman who, in order to stop a rampaging Superman who had lost control, and after everything didn't work, Kryptonite didn't work, the Justice League didn't work, no one could stand up to him, Batman then injected himself with the Doomsday virus and turned himself into Doomsday Batman. Again, a lot of these really just sound like fanfics at this point. Don't get me wrong, it's cool, but you know somebody out there looked at that and went, I've had that exact idea, like 1,000 times. So yeah, it was kind of crazy to utter the words Doomsday Batman. But yes, this is a version of Batman who injected himself with the Doomsday virus, and he turned into Doomsday, defeated Superman, but then he couldn't really contain the virus from spreading and just ran all over the rest of the world. And you see him come to our world, and he goes to meet Lois Lane, and then he immediately injects Lois Lane with the Doomsday virus, and she becomes patient zero and starts spraying it throughout all Metropolis. And you see like giant spikes popping out of the ground. You see some people dying and turning to stone, but then you see lots of other people turning into giant Doomsday monsters themselves. You actually hear of like Supergirl turning into a Doomsday monster, which you never actually see that, and I kind of want to see that. Like you hear about all the other Superman heroes turning into Doomsday monsters, and I was like, show me that! Please tell me that comes back at some point in this, because that would actually be awesome. I want to see that in a later issue of Metal. So that is basically what happens in this storyline, but I kind of dug the motivation behind this Doomsday, because when you hear this version of Batman talking about Superman, when he's fighting him and he is taking out the entire Justice League, he's talking about how this Superman made me trust, he made me feel hope, he made me feel love and friendship for another human being again, and now he has betrayed all of us by turning evil, and the Doomsday virus keeps me from feeling anything, so when I inject his Metropolis with the Doomsday virus, I'm actually saving them, because they have all bought into his lie of hope and peace and justice as well. This will keep them from believing him, from believing in love and hope and friendship and all that other stuff. This will actually make them strong enough to not fall for his lies, but also strong enough to beat him if he decides to come back. I'm actually doing a good thing here. Most of the other Batman kind of went nuts. This is the one Batman who you look at and it's kind of like, okay, well yeah, you went nuts, obviously. But you also look at like he actually has a motivation. All the other ones just kind of turn evil This one, it was more like, okay, yeah, you kind of had your heart broken and you didn't take it the right way. Okay, I see your motivation in this one. And lastly, the one that just came out today is The Batman Who Laughs, which, listen, this is the one that had been getting hyped up. This is the one that's like, okay, he's the leader of the bunch. He's the most mysterious one. We gotta see how this happened. Honestly, it kind of happens the exact way that you think. He gets injected with the Joker toxin, and then it becomes Joker Batman. Okay, it's more complex than that. Basically, in this version, Joker had just run over the entire city. He had a master plan building for years, and now it was all coming together. He was blowing up giant chunks of Gotham, killing off Batman's beloved friends and colleagues, and then he had Batman tied up and drugged so he couldn't fight back, and then he just made him watch as he had one family after another walk down crime alley and then shoot the parents and then spray the child with Joker toxins. So just one after another, just basically making Batman see his worst fear coming to life over and over and over again. Finally, Batman broke free, snapped the Joker's neck, meaning he finally forced Batman to go too far. He finally pushed Batman past his breaking point and made him break that oath that he swore to never break. And then, as he died, the Joker's body released a super version of the toxin that basically twisted Batman into becoming the new Joker. Now, there are two other surprises that happen at the end of this issue, which is that the Batman Who Laughs, he has been telling his story to someone, and at the end of this, you see that there's someone tied up and strapped to a chair with bandages all over his face, so you have no idea who they are. That's definitely going to be someone. I can't imagine that just being a random person who the Batman Who Laughs was tormenting. It's gotta be someone who ends up coming back. I can't imagine that just being like, oh, it's just a little throwaway thing, it doesn't matter. That's gotta be some character. So I am looking forward to seeing who that is going to be. But the other thing that gets revealed at the end of this is that I've been enjoying Dark Knight's Metal, but I kind of feel like it's been just kind of like a Batman fest, which, don't get me wrong, I understand that is the entire point of Dark Knight's Metal. However, this is supposed to be the evil versions of heroes from the Dark Multiverse, and I kept looking at it as like, so are they all just Batman? Is the Dark Multiverse nothing but Batman? Or are there other characters in there? And then it kind of gets revealed, oh no. The Batman are just the ones who decided to team up and come to your universe so we could open the door. We're the ones who came up with the plan to get your Bruce Wayne to open the door for us. As soon as we wind that door, everybody's coming in. And then you see, yeah, the Dark Multiverse is full of evil, twisted, apocalyptic versions of all the heroes. So I was kind of glad to see that. I didn't just want to be like, oh, there's an entire negative 52 planets out there dedicated to nothing but Batman. No. It's just like 7 of them. The rest of them are all the other heroes. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm cool. So yes, those were my brief little summations of these 7 issues. What did I think of them? I actually really freaking dug them. As you guys know, and if you don't know this, then where were you all throughout October? I'm a bit of a horror junkie. And this whole thing was planned out by Scott Snyder, who is also a big horror fanatic, and many of these issues were written by James Tynion, who is kind of like Scott Snyder's protege, but also he is a big horror nut. He has written so many indie books out there that are some of the creepiest things that I have ever read. So yeah, he was the perfect guy to put in charge of several of these issues. He was the one who wrote the Batman Who Laughs issue, which I could have sworn they would have saved Scott Snyder for that, but no, they gave it to James Tynion, and I think that was a good choice, because even though I look at it like, yeah, okay, it's, you know, it's Batman killed Joker, got sprayed with the toxins, alright, I get it. He actually knew how to make it really darn creepy. There was a moment in that issue in which he has taken out the entire Justice League, and all that's left is Clark, his son, and Lois Lane, and he just passes Clark Kent a piece of black kryptonite they created that basically turns Clark Kent into a monster that only wants to kill everyone around him, and he takes out his own family. That is really messed up and really disturbing, and it's actually perfect for this storyline. It is exactly what they were trying to make you feel in a story like this. James Tynion was able to pull it off. However, my personal favorite of all the ones that I read had to be Dawnbreaker, for a couple of reasons. One is because I feel like way too many of these were just, oh, Batman had something bad happen to him, now he is pushed to that limit and he must do something terrible. Or like with Murder Machine, it's one where it's like, no, he had the best of intentions but something went horribly wrong. I dug Dawnbreaker because it was just like, no, this is just an evil a-hole version of Bruce Wayne. This is not the Bruce Wayne who learned to be nice and kind and friendly. No, he's just a little brat. He's a monster. Plus, he's completely different from all the other Dark Knights. Like, yeah, okay, the Drowned is a female version, but it's still basically just Bruce Wayne. This one, he never even became Batman. This was him as a child. In fact, we didn't follow him throughout his entire life. He's still like a teenager by the end of the storyline. Like, if you read the Dark Knight Metal storyline, in there are several times where they refer to him as Kid. Yeah, they kept it that he is still just a little kid with unlimited power. So yeah, that actually makes him extra creepy in my mind, because as I said, it reminds me of that Twilight Zone episode that still haunts me to this day. But also, it just makes him so much more different than all these other characters. And that to me has been the one kind of small problem I had with all these one-shots. It's that every single one of them was basically, here's the DC universe, something changed, something went different. That to me is not what defines the DC multiverse. That to me is what defines the Marvel multiverse. The Marvel multiverse typically has always been, alright, here's the storyline, but what if this happened and now it went that direction? The DC multiverse to me was always stuff completely different. Stuff just not even close to how it happens in our reality. I feel like Dawnbreaker captured that the most out of any of these. Like when I was looking forward to The Merciless, the Wonder Woman one, I was like, alright, so Barbatos is this dark god of the dark multiverse. What if the Amazons are like a tribe that don't worship the Greek gods? They worship Barbatos, and they know that Bruce Wayne is like the prophesized champion of their world, so they steal him, and they're the ones who kill his parents when he's a child, and they take him back to Dark Themyscira and now raise him to be the ultimate warrior. No, he's still just Batman, but at the end, he puts on an evil thing and it makes him evil now. Don't get me wrong, good storyline, but again, I was like, okay, it's still just kind of Batman in there. I wanted something really different. Dawnbreaker, I feel, is the only one that really gave me something different. Also, another small complaint, I feel like they tried to make every single one of them way too sympathetic. Dawnbreaker was the one that I looked at like, no, there's no sympathy in him. He is pure evil. Yes, his parents died. He didn't take it well. He turned into a monster immediately after that. Every single one of these other ones, you know, it was kind of like, okay, well, you know, Murder Machine, you were trying to do something good. Red Death, oh, you lost your entire family all over again? I can see how that would push you too far. I really wanted to just see some freaking evil versions of Batman in here. Instead, a lot of them were just like, okay, they're misunderstood versions. They're versions that if they had gotten the help they needed, everything would have been okay. Dawnbreaker, again, I feel was like that one that was like, no, he's just evil. Like a good example of that, I feel, is the Devastator one. Which again, love the Devastator one. Great setup, and I mean, it's a storyline that is meant to make you lose all hope. It really did that. At the end, when you see Lois starting to turn into a Doomsday monster, I didn't look at that like, okay, this is some cool, like, weird monster stuff. No, I looked at that like, oh my god, what's gonna happen to Lois? Which is what it should make you feel. But I was reading that issue and I thought, man, again, Superman is allowed to go pure full-on evil. Superman, they have turned evil so many times in so many alternate realities. And yet, they do it again in this one, but still, Batman, he has to be sympathetic on some level. He has to be that guy who's like, well, he was trying to do the right thing. He had to do this to save the day. That was why he turned into the giant Doomsday monster that destroyed the planet, is because he had to stop that mean old Superman. I would have preferred that storyline way more if it had been something along the lines of like, Batman has always tried to prepare and plan for a way to defeat Superman, even though everyone in their right mind knows you don't need to do that. Superman's gonna be just fine. Superman's a good guy. You don't have to plan for a way to defeat Superman. But Batman just kept sticking to it. Batman was just like, no, I must come up with a way to defeat him. And he keeps experimenting with one way after another. And everybody's like, dude, you're getting too obsessed with this. Superman isn't going to be a problem. And then Batman kind of just falls deeper and deeper into madness as he keeps trying to plan ahead, plan ahead, plan ahead. Basically, he's just like, I don't have enough prep time. I have to think of even more plans now. And then in the end, he's like, the only way to defeat Superman is with the Doomsday virus. And Superman's like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm just sitting over here being fine. I would have preferred something more like that, where Batman just went insane, and that's why he became the Devastator. Not because, again, oh, he had to do it to save the day. I feel like these Dark Knights, not as evil as they could have been. That's what I'm trying to say. They were more sympathetic rather than full-blown evil, which is what I feel like for a dark multiverse. That's kind of what it should have been. But at the same time, I understand why they went this way. Because the Dark Multiverse isn't necessarily the evil version of our world, it's the nightmare version of our world. And Batman's nightmares typically revolve around, okay, what would happen if I lost someone close to me again? What would happen if I did go over the edge? Yeah, okay, that is the theme of these issues, so okay, even though I would have liked a little bit more evil and a little less sympathetic to these characters, because I feel like that is a thing that DC keeps sticking to, that they can demonize all their other characters, especially Superman, but Batman always has to have some sympathy to him. So even though I do have that complaint, I understand it. It does fit with what they're going for. I will say personally, I think the weakest of these was the Drowned. The art is gorgeous. I love the design of everything in that world. However, it's being told in a lot of flashbacks by the Drowned, which I guess all of these are technically being told in flashbacks, but the Drowned's flashbacks were the most robotic, which considering that one of these Batman actually is a robot is kind of ironic. But yeah, a lot of it was like, here's the facts, here's what I did, I moved on to this thing, I experimented on myself, I attacked them here, the whole world was drowned, now here I am. I was like, okay, it felt a little bit too much like step, 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 just here's what happened, here's what happened, here's what happened. Whereas the rest of them kind of like took me through the journey, but I still did really enjoy it. You know, in the end, even though I think a lot of these were kind of similar, I do still love seeing these weird alternate reality versions of these characters because, as I mentioned before on this channel, I actually love alternate realities. I love seeing weird what-if storylines involving these characters, and yeah, these were 7 stories that did just that. I just would have liked it if they had, you know, kind of gone a little bit further with them, I guess. Like the Batman Who Laughed. That's another good example of what I'm talking about. I kind of jokingly mentioned it's exactly what you thought it was. He gets exposed to Joker toxin. We all know that the Joker's origin story, or at least one of his dozen origin stories, is that he just had one really bad day. And that's what made him snap. I kind of would have dug it if we had seen a storyline where, okay, the Joker, his big plan pays off, he's killing everyone close to Batman, he's destroying his city, he's making him watch Crime Alley over and over and over again happen before his eyes. What if that had just been Batman's one really bad day? Like, he's forced to kill the Joker, and then it kind of finally answers that question that many people have had about Batman, why doesn't he just kill the Joker? Well, it's because if he did that, he would lose his freaking mind. What if this Batman Who Laughed had not been exposed to Joker toxin, he had just been pushed to that point where he had to finally cross that line, and he snapped. That was all he needed to finally go over the edge. That was that one thing that finally pushed him too far. But again, you know, at this point, I'm kind of just pitching my version to the stories, which is not legitimate critiques. That is not actual criticism of these books. More just like, okay, I think this would have been a little bit more interesting, but you know, that's just me. I would like to hear what you guys thought about every single one of these down below in the comments, but I will end on one last thing that I find to be really interesting, and I really want to know if DC actually planned this. If you have been reading the Tom King Batman series, you know that the last storyline they did was the War of Jokes and Riddles, in which the Joker and the Riddler had a war going with each other that lasted for weeks and months and tore all of Gotham apart, and it pushed Batman to his breaking point. And spoiler alert for that storyline, but at the end of that, he finds out what the Riddler has done. He's done something incredibly awful, and he shows no remorse for it, and Batman can't take it anymore, and so he just picks up a knife, looks at the knife, and he says, in that moment, I hadn't lost control, I wasn't unaware of what I was doing, I was fully in that moment, and then he turns around and tries to stab and kill the Riddler, but the Joker puts out his hand and stops the blade. The blade goes through the Joker's hand and saves the Riddler's life, and the Joker just laughs hysterically at that. I look back at that now, after reading all these tie-ins and seeing that all these evil versions of Batman were created. When Batman went too far, when his worst nightmare happened. And I look at that and go, the only thing that kind of kept our universe from turning into a dark multiverse, from turning into a reality where Batman lost all control and he went down that dark path, was the Joker. It makes me look back at the War of Jokes and Riddles and go, this was the moment that Joker saved the entire multiverse. It was that moment in which he saved our entire reality from going down the dark path because he kept Batman from becoming a murderer. these tie-ins made the War for Jokes and Riddles so much better. And I actually like the War for Jokes and Riddles. I kind of went back and forth on it for a while, but in the end, I actually really dug it. Man, it creates a whole other layer to that storyline right now, and it really makes me wonder if DC planned that. Because DC, especially the Bat family over there, has been pretty good at working together, has been pretty good at setting out steps of what they're going to do over the course of the next couple of years. I really want to know if they did that for this, or if it was just completely coincidental. So yes, those are my thoughts on these Dark Knight Metal one-shots. I had a few nitpicks here and there, but in the end, I found them to be great, creepy, spooky reads, and considering that they came out mostly in October, they were actually great books to put out during that month. So let me know what you thought about them in the comments down below, or on Twitter, Twitch, and Tumblr at Professor Thorgy. Also, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see tons of other videos on us from comic books, movies, video games, everything else from the world of geekery, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and share these videos around the web. It is the best way to help this channel grow. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Come back next time. Bye.